So recently, multiple different esports leagues, such as the Overwatch League, there's League of Legends now, of course, with the LPL region, LCK, LCS, and LEC, which have said that they're just going to stop operations momentarily, and some leagues have even moved to online play. Now, the problem with all of this and all of the hurdles that each kind of different game needs to go through is that obviously there's the ping adjustment, there's cheating, of course, and there's just kind of quarantine slash isolation, right? Because of the virus and fearing, of course, getting pros sick. That would be pretty disastrous given that they're in a team environment and they kind of need to function as a team, right? So everyone would get sick if one person gets sick, essentially. So the difficulty with all this, and the reason why I'm creating this video, because I don't have a whole lot of work now. No, I'm just fucking with you. But these are all kind of the theoretical situations of like why it would be so difficult to actually make an online tournament, right? Like we do have that option as an esport, which is, fucking awesome. There's not a whole lot of other sports that can do this, right, so easily, because it's easy for us to shift to online play because we were doing that back in the day anyways. If I know some viewers, if you're old enough, you'll remember the Cal leagues, the Cyber Athlete League, which was a Counter-Strike 1.6 league, and that was played entirely online. And if you got high enough to be in the Cal I or Cal Invite league portion, right? There were like different tiers. Like Cal I was where all the really good players were, all the professionals and stuff. There was Cal P, which was just below that. That was Cal Pro or Cal Professional, and then there was like Cal M and Cal IM and Cal O, which was Cal Open. And that was open to anyone to join whatsoever. If you had a team and you wanted to do that, then you could play in that league. It was pretty cool. So we've done this back in the day, right? And we've also seen that the quality of teams that end up showing up to that ending tournament was actually still pretty good. You still had Team SK, Team 3D, things like that. Like all the really big popular teams would be there at Cal Invite or the CPL, which was hosted in Texas for the actual offline portion, right? If you were good enough to make it there. So now, considering the issue of ping, so obviously for League of Legends, ping won't really be that bad, right? I mean, we can look at an instance when pros were streaming on the tournament realm when they were doing kind of in-houses and just messing around because they wanted to get better practice, and instead of playing solo queue or whatever, they would actually have a whole bunch of pros playing together, kind of semi-try-harding, right? So Sneaky did a VOD, or he uploaded on YouTube one of his in-house scrims, and you could see that he was getting about 15 ping, right? Which is fantastic. I mean, I remember when I was playing on about 15 ping back in the day when League of Legends had their server. I believe it was located in Portland, I want to say, and I was living in Seattle, so I got like 15 to 20 ping, and it was fucking fantastic, right? And I could really not tell of any input lag at that ping level. Now that I live in LA, ironically, I have like 70 ping and the shit sucks. Like I can immediately tell the input lag, and it feels like shit. But they'll be playing on the tournament realm, so I see no real issues with that. I assume with the Overwatch League, that's going to be kind of the same thing. Blizzard should have their servers in LA or in Portland as well, too. Portland's a really big hub for internet, as far as like servers and whatnot because of Amazon. And then for Counter-Strike, the reason why no one respects online tournaments in the Counter-Strike scene is because of how vastly it affects play. Now, this might be a concern for the Overwatch League too. I'm not sure. If their ping is like 15 to 20 ms, I don't really see a big issue, but once you start getting into the 40s and 50s, you actually notice the difference when you're playing an FPS game. And the reason for Counter-Strike and why they have such a hatred for online tournaments is because if you ever played that game through almost any iteration, 1.6, especially I knew, and Counter-Strike Source, or, CSGO now, the op is probably one of the most difficult things to deal with when it comes to online play, because when you get lag into that, sometimes even the opper has the advantage, because it's just so difficult to hit them, first of all, and then second, the op, since it's one bullet, it's very fucking difficult to either aim or then dodge it too, because your input lag is different. So you're gonna end up immediately getting hit if he has lower ping than you, right? So it just becomes this weird gamble and this weird guessing game when it comes to an FPS game. So it's ping is a big issue for FPS, but for League of Legends, I don't think we have too much of a concern for that. Now, the thing about the teams and kind of this whole virus aspect or getting sick and whatnot is that teams, they already live around each other, constantly anyways. So it's not like they're exposing themselves by interacting with each other, at least one would think, because they're already doing it anyways, right? So if anything, they should probably just limit their time with people from outside of the team, right? Because, well, if someone's sick already, you all are probably already fucking sick anyways, right? And then secondly, it's like, well, if you guys just quarantine yourselves by yourselves, then everything should be good to go, right? And this virus, obviously, as people have been reporting it's more deadly for older people. So luckily, all the Zoomers and shit are good to go in esports. So we don't have too crazy of a concern, right? Now, the major issue with this entire epidemic is cheating, right? Cheating, how do you curtail it for esports when people are playing online? Because, people could cheat through the client. I think it would be really difficult. But if a team were really, dedicated, and teams are sophisticated enough now to where they have the resources to actually invest in a elite programmer to create a cheat and then upload it onto their computer, right? So not that anyone would probably do this, as it would heavily risk their franchise slot, most likely, within the Overwatch League and in the LCS/LEC or LPL. It's still a small possibility, right? The temptation is there at that point. And as people say, a lock is not really a guarantee when it comes to a car or something on a gate. It's really just a deterrent. If people really want to break into your shit, they'll break into your shit. So Riot is going to have to quickly come up with a program that each team needs to have installed on their computers, kind of like how Steam uses VAC, which is a shit, it's a shit cheat system, obviously, but you have leagues like Faceit or ESEA, which use their own anti-cheat system, and it's actually pretty good, and that's why those leagues are well respected, because the ranking is pretty legitimate when you start playing around with that. So Riot's going to have to develop something very quickly. Same thing with Overwatch. They're going to have to do the same thing. And then as the secondary issue, refs are going to need to be at each team house if this is really going to work, because teams could easily just watch the stream, right? They could easily have someone in the other room watching the stream and relaying information about, where the enemy jungler is, or, in Overwatch's case, like where someone is trying to flank or whatever. So, because of the fog spectator from the broadcast side. So this is going to be really difficult for them to handle. They're going to need refs in each team house, and Riot would most likely need to pay, or I guess Blizzard too, would need to pay for this ref to be quarantined and pay for some medical supplies to keep them as clean as possible. And I don't blame refs if they don't want to sacrifice themselves and their social lives and their interactions with other people, their loved ones, etc., etc. Like, they would probably have to sacrifice a lot in order to just do this job as a ref. But it's going to be necessary if they want to keep this as like clean as possible. So I see all these different pitfalls with how to run a online tournament, and that's why also I think leagues like LEC or LCS have suspended their games, because they can't guarantee all of these things can be set in place immediately. They need time to actually build the infrastructure to manage exactly how to do this, right? Especially the online cheat program, they're gonna have to build up from scratch. So I'm sure someone is back there right now programming away with a team of other people in terms of how do they want to actually prevent cheating and keep the integrity of the entire scene. So this is going to be pretty difficult, but otherwise, like ping wise, I don't think we have too much to worry about. It's not that big of a deal to play on 15 ping. So I see that we can actually get through this, and that's the cool thing about esports. So I'm pretty optimistic about the online tournament and online play. As for content creators and stuff, we'll have to work around this shit somehow. It's online. First of all, so this is an easy space for us to navigate, and so I don't see any issues, but I just thought these were some points in which should be addressed and how we can theoretically overcome some of these things.